I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I actually have volume. Although it would help if I brought the mic a little closer to me. Lance, how you feeling, man? You said you weren't feeling well. You didn't think you'd make the show tonight. I am honored that you were able to make it, even though you're under the weather. Hopefully, it's nothing serious, huh, dude? But yeah, thanks for dropping by tonight. And while we're waiting for the armies of other followers to drop in, um, getting there. Good, good. Remember, plenty of vitamin C. Plenty of vitamin C. That always does the trick with me. And Tom Lermy in the house says, "Hi, Thrash and Lance. John Collins in the house. Hello, John. I'm so sorry I couldn't have you on as a guest, but I haven't mastered the new technology yet, and therefore I'm still flying solo. But I would be honored to have you on my chat." Ooh, people are pouring in now. Tom's in. Hi, Bob. Did you like Pat's cast? Yeah, I certainly did. In fact, I'm so glad you brought it up. That guy, Carell, is that how you pronounce it? Carell? Anyway, is like the most interesting person in the universe. Oh my God. He worked for Harold Lloyd, the silent film icon. I mean, a lot of people, actually not as many as you'd think, still remember Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin, but number three was Harold Lloyd. He was he actually had to retire. I don't know if you guys remember the story. He was doing this thing. It was a shtick. He had found a prop bomb. It was one of those bombs that looked like bowling balls with a long wick, and he was going to do a promo photo where he lit his cigar off this prop bomb, and he's going like this. Well, unfortunately, it wasn't simply a prop. It was designed to have a certain. Now, if it was in your hand, it would have just been like a regular M80 or something, so it probably wouldn't have hurt you. But because he was holding it, it actually blew a couple of his fingers off. So, unfortunately, that kind of took him out of the game. And that's why he went into the behind the scenes filmmaking. But he actually worked for Harold Lloyd. I was like, every story he kept telling got better and better and better. Oh, and by the way, I got to ask. Now, Pat had a lot to work with here, but how many of you people think that was Pat's best work? I mean, he was just sharp and on point and just boom, boom, boom. It was like, I mean, well, he has a beautiful voice anyway, but he was just a natural, like he'd been doing it like Dick Cavett or Johnny Carson, like he'd been doing it his whole life. I really thought it was some of Pat's best work. So, Tom, the short answer to your question is yes, I love that cast, and I hope everyone get a chance to see it. Oh, and John, thank you for being so magnanimous. I promise you, as soon as the equipment's up and running, you and Danny Staten are going to be guests on Thrash Pondo Originals. I promise. By the way, oh, and did you get my messages? By the way, I've been, of all things, I've been having trouble with my phone lately. I may have gotten them worked out. In fact, maybe I'll try to give you a call tomorrow. But if you don't hear from me, it's because I'm still working out the phone problems. One thing after another up here. Yeah, Tom says, yep, that podcast was great. Mike Silva says Thunderbirds are go. Mike, I'm so glad you could make it. Mike had to work tonight. He wasn't sure he was going to be able to show up tonight. Let me guess. You're probably watching while at work. I won't say anything. That's why I had to miss Pat's show the other night, and I couldn't do a live chat. I was working at the restaurant. Tom says, most amazing podcast. Check it out. Yes, he's absolutely right. Again, I really feel it was Pat's best work, or arguably the best work. Mike Silva says, Santa Claus, I think I'd better put my coat on very quickly. Can't let anybody see Santa Claus without his coat. Just put this belt on quickly as you can and see what's going on. There's a bell ringing in the back of my head. That's a film reference. But yeah, Mike's always good for film references. I'm trying to put it in the old noggin. If anyone else recognizes it, feel free to shout out first. John Collins says, which podcast are we discussing? We're talking about Pat's most recent interview with a man by the name of Carell, who played for many years Beaver's best friend on Leave It to Beaver. They remain friends off camera to this day. Had an absolutely amazing life. He's the one who, well, I don't want to tell too many of the anecdotes because I want you to actually see it and be surprised. But he was a Universal Monsters buff and came up with the idea of the Munsters. He worked for Howard Lloyd for a while, silent film icon. Was one of the most interesting people I've ever listened to. Superplex in the house. Good evening to all, and happy holidays. Yes, happy first day of Hanukkah, and happy. I have to count backwards. Day 5 of Christmas. I always lose count of the 12 days. Mr. Led is with us tonight. Hey, Thrash, I told Pat the same thing. He has really improved by leaps and bounds. Well, this whole one just went so smoothly. I mean, he has a wonderful speaking voice and asks very good questions, but you can always tell he's putting in the effort. This time it almost seemed like it was effortless, like he was just speaking conversationally. I thought it just went wonderfully, and I was very, very proud of him. We've been saying to him for ages, when you can actually be as comfortable in the interview process as you are with just talking to us, you'll be the greatest. Terrell Eugene Bellinger in the house. Teb, happy Monday before Xmas. Yes, it is the Monday before Xmas, and all through Thrash's house, everything's going to be going on here. Tom Laramie, hi. Let a lot of people having a fellowship. Tom the Hungry Jerk says, it's bone cold in California. I just looked at my sensor here in the corner. It's 35 degrees here on Cape Cod. So, unless you can beat that. Tom Laramie says, hi, Teg. I assume it means Teb. A lot of people saying hello. John Collins says, there was an interesting Hallmark movie on 2 nights ago that was discussing the authorship of 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. No kidding. You know, a lot of those old things are copyrighted, and sometimes the copyright is fast and loose, shall we say. Zuplik says, one of the most interesting people I've ever heard was Gene Shepard. In an interview or from his works? I'll accept either. Mike Silva says, I'm watching the holiday classic. It's a Wonderful Life. I absolutely love that one. It's one of my favorites. And did you know the only reason that became such a hit, it would have become a hidden classic? It wasn't even considered a Christmas movie by and large. It went to the public domain in, I want to say, 1970. So TV stations started showing it because they didn't have to pay royalties. And because they showed it as a Christmas, that's all, folks, as a Christmas tradition, every Christmas it became one in most households. Crazy, huh? Because that's actually my favorite. Mike Silva says 34 degrees here in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Commiserations, lad. That's even colder than we are. John Doe. The greatness has arrived. It certainly has. We've been keeping the home fires burning for you. Daily Dan the Good Stuff says, greetings. Dan, so glad you could make it tonight. I'm very, very glad. Have you seen the Snow Beast movie, by the way? Because I was thinking of you when I was watching it. Kevin Davis is with us. Mele Kalikimaka. I have a cousin from Hawaii, actually. And I always, every year, I'm like, hey, Keone, Mele Kalikimaka. It's one of the few Polynesian phrases I know. Zublik says, I have the air conditioner on. Yeah, you're in San Juan? I wouldn't be. Darrell Johnson says, Bob, Daryl, good to see you, man. So glad you could join us. Mr. Lid says, 12 degrees here on Xmas Day coming. Brr and brr. Dilly Dan says, hello, Pawns, and hello to you, my friend. Let's see. I just jumped again, but hopefully I'm not too far behind. Boom. Gerald Johnson says, man, no one hitting that like button these days. Hit the like button, what he said. Well, we've got 9. That's a start. It's the subscribers I really need. Guys, forward some of my videos to your friends or your acquaintances or people you work with or people you live next door to. Word of mouth of words. We've got to get a few more people to know about old Bonds' Bond and my show. Let's just see what we got. Tom Laramie says, Art Carney Raps "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." You should check it out. Whenever I think of him in Christmas, I always think of the Twilight Zone Christmas special he did. Ziplik says Gene's radio shows. He also did shows on PBS. That's how I saw the one he did on the 4th of July and the Great 4th of July blackout or scandal, whatever it was, which is one of my favorite 4th of July specials. Mike Silva says Star Wars Holiday Special movie, watching it on YouTube. Wow, you're watching a lot of stuff at once, aren't you? James Dye in the house. Good evening, everyone. James Dye, so glad you could make it. Welcome. Kevin Davis says Die Hard is a good Christmas movie, and yes, we've established it is a Christmas movie. Daily Den says I always watch Die Hard, eat too much, and drink way too much. Well, what else is there? That reminds me, I have to get a 12-pack of Sam Adams this week. They have the holiday multi-packs. Tom says I'm originally from Woonsocket, Rhode Island. I thought you were from Weymouth or something originally. Well, somewhere out here in New England. I always forget the point of origin. Gary Carpenter says, hello there, Thrasher. Gary, hi to you too. So glad you could make it. You told me you were going to try. Daily Dan says, nothing. He just zipped away. Come zip away with me. I have Snow Beast. Yeah, I was thinking of you when I watched it. John Doe says, would you consider First Blood the first action Christmas movie? Action Christmas movie, first one. I'll have to give the matter some more thought. I think there's a World War II one or a World War I one. I'll have to think more. Zuplik says, Bayamont. I think that's actually the town he lives in. I'm sorry if I said San Juan. It was a wild stabbing guess. A lot of people having fellowship. Daryl Johnson says 14 degrees here with a wind chill of Zippo. You hear the guy who actually came up with the scale of wind chill recently passed on? Yeah, it was very, very sad. He was 82, but his age showed as 106. Sorry. Mike Silva said Frosty the Snowman. Probably my favorite animated Christmas special. A lot of people saying hello to everyone. Zublik says, good evening, Gary. No gals as of yet tonight. I know. Strange, just us dudes. Daily Den gave us a link. You can see the trailer for Snow Beast on that link. Please do. And while we're on the subject, please check out my recent micro review of it. Trey Thomas Myers in the house. We were just talking about the fact about how none of the ladies were with us tonight. I'm so glad you have altered that slightly. But yes, please check out my micro review of Snow Beast. If you like it, I'll be doing more micro reviews of the box set. And you know what? There were plenty of other movies on those that consignment I got from my friend Rick. If you guys want to hear reviews of any of them, ask and you shall receive. Mike Silva says Night of the Comet. I already reviewed Night of the Comet, and yes, it is a Christmas movie. Mike Silva says, Tom, it's a childhood favorite, mine too. I had such a crush on Sam. Gary Carpenter says Art Carney did The Night They Saved Christmas. Did I know that? He also did the Star Wars Christmas special. He's done a lot of Christmas specials now that I think of it. Les Chavin says, guys, I'm out. Sorry about that. He's not feeling well. He warned me he may not be able to stay. He was afraid he wouldn't even be able to come. So anyway, good night. Take care of yourself, Lance, and thank you for showing up. Now, James Dye said, Night of the Comet is on Tubi right now. I own it. Mike Silva says, I'm watching Star Wars Holiday Special again on Christmas Eve. Tom Lemmy says, I like Durante. Yeah, he narrated the Frosty the Snowman, didn't he? Now that you mention it. Zublik says, hanging in there. Oh, hang in there, Gary. Yes, please do. Kevin Davis says, I'm going to watch A Christmas Story on TNT and TBS running the gamut. Big Guys 45 is with us tonight. He says, hello to you, big guys. Any more luck with the whole subscriber debacle? Let us know. Trader Minor says, I love Trading Places. That is definitely a Christmas movie. I will definitely count it as Christmas movie. John Collins says, Bob, when you get enough subscribers, you will have a couple of super chats every week from a certain wheelchair clad fellow. I wonder who that could be. I thank you in advance. Thank you, John. You are just a wonderful and generous human being, and never let anyone say otherwise. Zublik says Carrie Fisher sings the first for the first time. Yes, and I guess she's dreadful. And she was so drunk when she did that, she doesn't even remember the scene. Pretty much the whole special. Daryl Johnson reminds everybody hit the like button. A lot of people saying hello to each other. Gary Carpenter says Z, she had a lovely voice. I must remember it differently. Big Guys 45 says, good news, though I could be wrong. I think the unsub glitch may finally be over with, but I don't know for sure. But I gained some more subscribers just today, and that's some really good news. I lost another one. I lost it. I'm down to 203. You guys remember Big Wheels used to come on periodically? Apparently he's not listed as one of my subscribers anymore. Not that I'm singling anybody out. But yeah, I lost another subscriber, and I'm not sure why. Gary Silva. Mike Silva says, anybody gonna faux anything for Christmas? Go to forward. Ziplik says Carrie lived under Debbie's shadow. She certainly did. She certainly did. Tracer of Minor says, I am a gal, LOL. You are, and you're our gal. You're a gal Godot. I just jumped again, so bear with me. Oh, Tracy Ross Myers says Emily Miller is in the house. Says hi to Tracy Ross Myers, which is what I was doing when I blurted that out. I was just so happy to see Emily here. Hello. Wow, I'm further behind than I thought. I'm going to skip down. A lot of people having fellowship. Ziplik says the only one so far is Tracy. Music Girl 67 will typically be late, though. That's right. She has to work on Thursdays. I don't know about Mondays. So she might be here a little earlier today. So hopefully. Liz Craven says, bye, guys. See you all Thursday. John Doe says, First Blood, first Christmas action movie from the 80s at best. You're probably right. I can't think of any others. You're probably right. So let's go with that. Big Guys 45 says Music Girl 67 has the time, LOL. Daily Dan gave another link to Big Guys 45. Hopefully we'll get another subscriber too tonight, although I'm sure everybody here already knows of your channel. I know I subscribe to it. Mr. Lynn says Art Carney played Santa in the classic Twilight Zone episode. That's one of my favorite Twilight Zone episodes. And Dave actually made it the top 5 of his Christmas TV episodes. It's an amazing, amazing episode. And it's funny because Art Carney always played like this sort of like wacky guy, and it's actually very heartfelt. Teb says, I know that the Brady Bunch had done only one Christmas episode throughout its entire run, and it was from the first season. I don't remember the Brady Christmas. I don't. Gary Carpenter says, have you seen the Snow Creature 1954? No, but I own it. It's actually in that box set. Would you like me to review that one? I could do it next if you guys want to see it. Or any others. You have the entire list. For a written transcript of that list, get a pen and paper, people. I can't do everything for you. But yes, I do take requests. Tom says, Emily even spells with an accent. Very cute. Mike Silva says, Gary, Thunderbirds rocks the 60s TV series. It certainly does. Big Guy says, like and subscribe to fans. Please, pretty please, you're on top. Emily Miller said, dividing my attention here, and the season 32 of MTV is The Challenge. I couldn't blame you. Dilly Den says, don't wait to donate. Send a postal money order wheel if you were serious. I'm not sure who you're soliciting funds from, but good luck, whoever it is. I think I may have missed one of your earlier comments that you are referring to. Oh, you're talking to John Collins. Well, we have to give him the content to warrant the fundage now, don't we? But I love your enthusiasm. Gary Carpenter does not like the Thunderbirds. Free country. Zublik says, "Don't say." Oop, he was saying something, but he disappeared. Um, I'll try to catch up as fast as I can. Zublik says, "Don't say that, T-Pawns. You destroyed my appreciation of that holiday classic." I'm sorry. Oh, I did not mean to do that. I'm sorry. Just skipping down so I can try to catch up. Teb says, yeah, very Brady Christmas. Let's see. Zupix, I have the entire run of Thunderbirds and Thunderbirds Are Go, the movie. A shooting star will shoot you and Mars will go to war. Mike Silva says, okay, Gary, I won't mention any more Jerry Anderson shows, except, of course, Space 1999. Gary Carpenter says, I like Battle of the Planets. The Japanese version is much, much better. I should do a whole show on that. Teresa Earthmeyer says, hello, 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 Three Stooges. They also celebrated Hanukkah too. And again, happy Hanukkah, Tracy. Day one, I believe. Day one. James Dye says yes to Battle of the Planets. Tom says, love Jerry Anderson, includes Space 1999. We're on the same page. Gary Carpenter gives a thumbs up to Tracy with the Three Stooges. James Dye says UFO was a great Anderson show. I used to watch that with my father. Love that show. Mike Silva says Terrahawks Pawns. I love the name Terrahawks Pawns. Should be my sidekick. Kevin Davis says so was Space 1999, the Jerry Anderson show, of course. I jumped again. Dan says the links are mostly for new people specifically watching on replay. That's an amazingly good point. Thank you. That's a very, very good point. I forget that my community is in fact growing. Even if people don't subscribe, they do watch. So these links could definitely come in handy. Thank you. Thank you, Dan. This obviously isn't your first rodeo, but I am the biggest clown. Just zooming down. Dilly Den says, I just like busting Collins' chops. Kevin Davis says, is that with Gary Collins? No, John Collins. Although I love the Gary Collins Batman interview. Well, where he interviewed Adam West and Burt Ward. It's actually right here on YouTube. John Doe says, still can't get that email address. Maybe flash it on the screen, or I can put mine's on an older talk. Have other people had that problem, by the way, with my email address, the one on Gmail, the one that I have when you go to, if you go to my YouTube channel, when you go to About, it has it for contacts. If other, Mr. Led, I know you've been able to use it, and I know others have subscribed. Yeah, if someone could just maybe Dan, you want to give a link? If you could do that, or just type out the Gmail address, I'd really appreciate it. Poor John's been trying to contact me. He's been having a dickens of a time. Let's see. Very far behind, so I'm going to try to catch up. Dave Claroni's in the house. Hi, Thrush. What's your favorite Christmas memory? That's a great question. My favorite Christmas memory would probably be the Christmas we first moved to Cape Cod. My mother got me a kitten, among my other presents, and we were living in what they used to call the winter rentals. They are cottages that they get top dollar for in the summertime, but rent for short money in the off season. People who move to the Cape rent them. The idea being you'll find a year-round residence before you have to move out in May. and they got me a kitten, and it had hidden behind the Christmas tree. So when I went to get my presents, its head popped up, and these like eyes kind of flashed at me. And at first, I didn't know what it was. My mother said, "I got you a kitten," and I'm like, because it was my first pet. Because after my mother's divorce, we couldn't have pets in the apartment we were living in New York. So yeah, she was my first pet. Wow, thank you, thank you, Dave. Tom says I love Star Blazers. That was a great one. Leader Desla, not Deslock. It's Deslock in English, but Desla in the American version. Skipping down because I am way behind. Lubbock says kind of like the latest Christmas movie with Peter Billingsley. I am that convinced they will only ruin it for me, Gary. I don't know, it's been getting a lot of good press. Keith E is in the house. Keith E says, okay, I was the 14th thumbs up. Now up to 16 on 17 watching. Keith, I'm so glad you could make it. How did the shower go? James Guy says, Gary Carpenter, there is a live action movie out there with subtitles. It's fantastic. Speaking of anime, did anyone ever see, it's considered the first anime feature film ever made. I believe it was called Momotaro and the Sea Eagles. It was actually made during World War II. I'm not making this up. It was made during World War II, and it was basically a Japanese propaganda film. And they take this character out of Japanese folklore, Momotaro, which basically means Peach Jr. Only in this case, he's like leader of this group of Imperial Marines, which are the sort of like anthropomorphic, well, they look like teddy bears and stuff. And he's fighting these like Allied soldiers that look like ghouls, bug-eyed monster types. It's actually thoroughly entertaining. One downside is I found out later on, supposedly, there are a handful of English voices, and they actually took English soldiers out of an internment camp and made them do the voices. So whether or not that's true or not, it does detract from the movie. Mike Silva says Santa Claus versus the Devil movie. I think I own that somewhere. That's the Mexican Christmas movie. It's surreal, but it's good. Kevin Davis says, who has seen Santa Claus Conquers the Martians? I think we all have. Mike Silva says, Gary, Land of the Lost 74. Love it. Love it. One of my favorite shows of all time. Tom Lenry says, the interview of Adam West you spoke of was on a show called America. Yes, and I remember, I get to see that. I was getting ready to go to college, and my grandmother lived down the street from my school, and I had a doctor's appointment that morning for my physical, because you had to have physicals before you went to college. Then I don't know if you probably still do, but she got me dismissed from school like after the first class, and I went down to my doctor's appointment, and on the way home, on the way back to school, I talked her into like stopping at her house first. I think I said I used the bathroom or I was hungry, something. I forget what I did, but I just stayed there and watched TV with her all day. So I got to blow off school, but she was a huge Gary Collins fan, so I got to see that interview by accident. Little nostalgia boost there. Tibbs says, Thrash, what's your favorite retro Christmas song? If it isn't White Christmas, the Little Drummer Boy rendition with Bing Crosby and David Bowie, photo finish. Probably the Bowie song if I had to choose one over the other. Let's just see, try to catch up here. Oh, I just crashed again because I'm so far behind. I think I'm catching up. But if I missed any ones while I was skimming down, please bear with me. Kevin Davis says some people hate Santa, but I think what are seeing is rampant claustrophobia. I'm going to use that one. I'm actually going to. The pieces are all there. I'm going to make a dad joke out of it. I'm just going to put claustrophobia. Oh, phobia. and I'll build the joke around it. It'll be a Shaggy Dog joke. Kevin, thank you very much. I am compiling a list of the top 10 worst Christmas themed dad jokes, which I fully intend to air before Christmas. And I think you just gave me number nine. Number nine. Number nine. Oh, is John Burston in the house? Did I miss you? I saw someone say hi, John Burston. John, so great to have you with us. Thank you for joining us. We haven't gotten around to our traditional sci-fi talk yet, but actually, you'll probably love to weigh in on this one. I don't know if you got a chance to see my the featured creature 50 pack that I got from a friend of mine. People had me list the titles on it. Some good ones in there, some schlock, but some good ones in there too. And on a request by request basis, I'm doing micro reviews on any of them. So if there's any check out the video if you haven't yet. And if there's any titles that sound tantalizing you want me to review, you've probably seen most, if not all of them. Let me know. I'd be happy to do it. John Bernstein, anyway, I just found your first comment, says, I do Blue Christmas in Elvis voice. I would absolutely love to hear that. James Dye said, had a comment just go blip on me. Had a friend in school, we would get together and watch anime in those badly dubbed kung fu movies. Sounds like fun. Tom says I got my beer and snacks. Sounds like we're out for the holidays. Form is content, says Santa is a corporate tool. Also, hi everyone, and hello to you, by the way. And the first depiction of the Santa Claus as we know it, and correct me if I'm wrong, by the way, you always have before up until now. The first depiction of what we've seen actually is from a Coca-Cola ad. Of course, they've gotten rid of the pipe, so it's been amended since. But yes, Santa Claus has certainly been corporatized. Uzbek says the Christmas song by Mel Torme, the most antiseptic songwriter ever. Really? Okay. That is not Mel Torme. Form is content says, hi, Mike. I'm teasing with another smiley face. We kind of figured, but there is a certain validity in what you say. Mike Silva says, from Frosty the Snowman to Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Tom says, Bob, send me your address. You know what? I will. You know what? I will send it to you in a text form. Thank God for a while I wasn't able to text today. I don't know what was going on with my phone today. But you got my most recent text. So tomorrow, Tom, I'm going to send you. I'll text you my my address. I'll text you my email address too, just to play it safe. But I'll text you my actual land address where I actually live. Gary Carpenter says, Z, my favorite song is "Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas," Judy Garland version. No wrong answers, but I love Judy Garland. Form is content. Joan Jett's cover of Little Drummer Boy always gets me. First concert I went to as a kid. It was my mother bought me the ticket. It was a graduation present for middle school. Middle school. I was about to start high school the following year. I graduated 8th grade and went with some friends. Kid I know actually somehow he got a bunch of tickets, or he knew a guy who worked for the Cape Cod Coliseum. But anyway, I that was my first concert. Mike Silva says, Pons, huge Gary Anderson fan. I certainly am. Kevin Davis says, I like Jack Benny's Christmas episode. Steve from The Life Inside In just posted it, and I still haven't seen it. John Doe says the most hated Christmas song is Jingle Bells. The reason is it's in heavy rotation. And I heard somewhere it's actually not even about Christmas. It's about Thanksgiving. It just got pushed over somehow. Gary Carpenter says, Mike, the Big Five, Rudolph, Frosty, Grinch, CB, and Santa Claus is coming to town. Worked for me. CB, of course, Charlie Brown. Santa Claus is coming to town was always my favorite. Let's just see. Tracer Meyer says the Velvet Fog. John Bernstein says, Kung Pao enter the fist. My first son wanted to see this instead of the Lord of the Rings first movie. Never saw it, but it looked very, very funny. John Collins says it's not like I'm a gazillionaire. I really enjoy giving to you guys very much, like Super Chat Dynamic. I'm Truth. I'm barely a thousandaire, but I can't wait till you have more subscribers. Neither can I, but thank you so much. That was very, very sweet of you. I crave positive reinforcement. Probably because I don't get it much. Kevin Davis says, worst Christmas song is the Mariah Carey song. My wife is laughing in the background. She works at Marshall's, and she that song brings her to tears because they're like always playing it. So yeah, Kevin, she more than agrees with you. Trailer Mars says thanks for the Hanukkah wishes. You're very, very welcome. You're very welcome. Zublik says Mel Torme fitted nicely with Lawrence Welk, both of the Geritol generation. Mike Silva says Kevin Married with Children, episode 13, season 2. Was that the one with Sam Kinison? That was so sick, but it's so funny. I saw him live in the Cape Cod Coliseum when I was in college. My friend actually got to go on stage and make a crank phone call to his ex-girlfriend. Tom Laramie says, message retracted, and a message retracted to you. Tom says, not well. He says not working, and then he jumped off the page. Not working for Hanukkah tonight. Tomorrow night. Jay, I hope you get all 12 days off. Kevin Davis says Mel sent apologize for the long wait, but there's never a short staffed today. I said they prefer to be called elves. I knew where that was going. Priceless. Thank you. Mike Silva says, most hated Christmas song in my family. Grandma got run over by a reindeer. I remember that came out. I was in college, and every single Christmas party, they played it over and over because it was still new at the time. So it hadn't been done to death, although I was sick of it. Zublik says, saw Mariah Carey at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. She could not move in that outfit. Daryl Johnson says, Chuck Berry's Run, Run, Rudolph. Tristan Mars says, I'll Be Home for Christmas really makes me cry. It's the best songs. That was a World War II song, wasn't it? Form as content says, one foot in front of the other is probably my favorite Rankin Bash holiday song. I remember that from when I was like 4 or 5, and I used to sing it until my throat was sore. I love that. And the little penguin, when he slid out the door, it was just so adorable. I love that. Well, of course, again, that one's my favorite Christmas special. Rudolph close second, of course. Daily Den says, Jingle bells, Rudolph smells, Santa is. Tom says, the Flintstones, Mel Torme was the Velvet Smog. They had some great characterizations of names. Let's just see. James Dye says Nestor, the long-eared Christmas donkey. That's my wife's favorite. Don't laugh and make somebody cry. Gary Carpenter said Thrasher. Tell her I heard her. I will. She'll never get in front of the camera, but you believe. Gary Carpenter says he could hear you. By the way. And James Dye loves Nestor, the long-eared Christmas donkey. She's like, yes, in a good way. Jingle Bell Rock, Bobby Helms, DJ. That's a good one. She says Nestor's a Christmas classic. Let's just see. Gary Carpenter says, rocking around the Christmas tree. Brenda Lee, have a happy holiday. Daryl Johnson says Lady Gaga's rendition of White Christmas sucks. Not familiar with it. I'll take your word for it. Form is Content says, oh, Gary, that's a good one. John Bernstein says it's a link to One Toke Over the Line by Lawrence Welk. You're kidding. I think I missed one of your earlier comments. I know the song One Toke Over the Line. It's up there with one of my other favorites, Looking Out My Back Door, which is basically the same thing. I don't know if you guys know this. You know the song Looking Out My Back Door? Um, uh, Mr. Fogerty had come back from going on tour and he was exhausted, so he decides as he's getting into his house, he's going to drop a couple of hits of acid. Realizes he doesn't have his keys, can't get into his house, waits for someone to come home to let him in. So he decides to sit on the back porch because it's the only way he could get any level of privacy, and just starts tripping jingle bells, you could say, out his back door. True story. Well, at least from what I heard. But yeah, John, I'm sorry. I think I missed something. Please feel free to clue me in. Dilly Din says, Grandma got run over by the reindeer. Unless you live in Kentucky, then it was probably a John Deere. I just jumped again, but I think I'm not too far behind. I am too far behind. Here we are. Mariah Carey had a few wardrobe malfunctions. Thanks, Tom. Mr. Lynn says, I just heard from the History Channel that during the Civil War, the South celebrated Xmas, but the North did not. They considered it a pagan event until President Grant made it a national holiday. That doesn't sound right to me. I'll never question the History Channel, but that didn't sound right to me. Oh, John Bernstein says Lawrence Welk. Gotcha. Twitter Meyer says, yes, it was Rob. Thank you. The first day. Book says Mariah Carey thinks she is still slim. They had to use a straight jacket, evidently. That's mean. Keith E. Dogs, the Christmas song. Do you know that when I was a kid, I thought those were actually barking dogs barking to Christmas? And I just jumped again, didn't I? All right, I'm going to try really hard to catch up, but oh wow, I'm way behind now. No, not that I'm behind in the comments. I mean, like I'm way behind. It jumped back, so now I'm actually having to catch up. Gary Carpenter likes the Christmas Carol from 1984. Tom Memory says the Henry Winkler version. I think that's the one. Gary Carpenter thinks something I said was funny. Thank you. Jublick says the only Christmas Carol I saw was the one with Alistair Sims. Gary, that is probably the best one from the 1930s. I want to say. Oh, Tom says, Nestor, the Christmas donkey broke my heart. The mother gave her life to save the child. That is very, very sad. Chris Reminder says, One Toke is a great Christmas song. Form as content says, Scrooged, though. Telman says, Art Carney, twas the Z. Twilight Zone, yes. Form as content, just jumped off the page. Duplex, one of my favorites. I love the song and that show. Something that Duplex said. Little Drummer Boy, Rankin Bash. Formus Content says, wait, those weren't real dogs barking? Jingle bells? My life is a lie. They were actual dog barks, but they were Foley artists. They didn't have dogs actually singing. Mr. Lid says Santa Claus is coming to town by Springsteen is the worst. Don't hate me, people. Never a big Springsteen fan. I'm sorry. Just not my tea of cup. Zublik says, always question the History Channel, Tom. It is entertainment first and historiography second. Fair enough. Fair enough. John Collins says, so you remember my three music acts. on the stage question from a while back. If you could see the three comedians on stage on one night in their prime, whom would they be? And who would go last? Okay, I would have to go classic. I would have to go. Um, uh, Lenny Bruce, and then I would have to go. Oh, oh, Steve Martin, and in between, Robin Williams. I'm so torn for the second one. I'm gonna have to go with Robin Williams though. I'm actually caught up. Crazy. Tom says saw the Art Carney Twilight Zone episode today. Again, it's one of my favorite ones of all time. He actually. There was supposed to be when they were doing hour-long episodes. They were supposed to be an hour-long Christmas episode, and it was never completed. My understanding was now, even though no one could question Rod Serling's patriotism, he tended to lean a little towards the left, and he was not crazy about the direction America was going in the early mid '60s, particularly with the Vietnam War. And he had actually had a special that was going to mention Vietnam specifically and have an anti-war sentiment. And the network said, "Nope, nope, not today." At least that's what I've heard. Let's see. Mr. Lynn says Rodney Dangerfield. He was great too. He was, but he wasn't a shock. I had a thing for shock comics, in case you hadn't noticed. And of course, Steve Martin did possibly the best bit of all time. He actually managed to get the entire audience. Long story short, he was talking about how nobody today remembers anything. And he goes, most people don't even remember the earth blowing up. And the audience kind of goes, and Steve goes, you don't remember the earth blowing up? And we all escaped in the great space arc to this planet? And the government decided not to tell all the stupid people because and I remember seeing that as a kid, and like my side split. I was laughing so hard. Keithy says, I hope you have a nice Hanukkah and enjoy the holidays. Tracy, I hope you have a nice Hanukkah and enjoy the holidays. Well stated. Zublik says, Robin Williams first, Mitch Helberg second, Stephen Wright third. Not familiar with Mitch Helberg off the top of my head. I'm sure I've seen his stuff. But Stephen Wright was very, very good. He's from Boston too, I believe. Formless Content says, has anyone watched Amal and the Night Visitors? It's a made-for-TV movie opera broadcast in the 1950s that I feel I should watch but never have. I have not. I am not familiar with that. Mr. Litt says, Tom, supposedly the little girl at the end of that episode is a young Marsha Brady. Really? No kidding. No kidding. Let's just see what else we got. James Dye agrees. Mitch Helberg was a genius. Big Guys 45 says, I'm back for a bit. So glad you could make it, big guy. Mike Silva says, Dick Van Dyke Show Christmas episode. I don't remember his Christmas episode. Tom says, before Robin Williams hit it big, my girlfriend used to see him dress up like an old lady and walk around the neighborhood. I'd heard stories about that. That's too funny. That's too funny. Gary Carpenter says, Mike, I just finished watching Father Knows Best, Home for Christmas. Haven't seen that one in years. Tom Emery says, well, excuse me, Steve Martin. Yes, that was his catchphrase. Big Guy says, now I lost a sub. Not sure if it's a glitch or if it's an actual unsub. I think what happens, correct me if I'm wrong, people, and you haven't yet, so I think I've been on a roll tonight. If someone closes their YouTube account, or if YouTube closes somebody's account for whatever reason, that would cause them to unsub, wouldn't it? So I think a lot of people just over the years have just simply dropped out. There's other platforms that they might like gooder. Trey Myers says thank you to Keith. Emily Miller says Mitch was a stoner, loved him. North Alabama cryptid, Mr. and Mrs. Knack. Welcome to the show. Welcome to this. Not your first time here, but hopefully it will not be your last. Please like and subscribe. And now that out of the way, they say, hey, Thrash. GTSY, Merry Christmas, and hope you have a great New Year also. Knack. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. You have a great holiday as well. And thank you for joining. And again, if you saw my I'm sure you're familiar with the film Snow Beast. I did a micro review of it today. And if you like that, I'm looking for suggestions for future micro reviews. Please check it out and like and subscribe. Tom Memory says Cruel Shoes and King Tut were good bits from Steve Martin. Cruel Shoes or was on Comedy Is Not Pretty, I believe, which was the album that the Great Space Arc was on. Mike Silva says, Zuplex, it's a great 50s sitcom. I'm assuming you mean Father Knows Best. Then he goes on to say Tom SNL classic, 70s classic Mr. Bill. I loved Mr. Bill. Davey. The Zuplex says, I do remember that Mike loved Robert Young, the best TV dad ever. Couldn't agree with you more. The mom was on Star Trek too. She did do a Star Trek as well. And so did the daughter. The daughter was on the one that space explorer gets stuck on a planet. And he finds out the alien keeping him alive has a crush on him. I can't think of that episode. But the daughter, who was also on the Andy Griffith Show and on Get a Life and on The Odd Couple, was on Star Trek as well. The government says YouTube has a lot of movies. It certainly does, but then again, so don't I. Mr. Led says Mr. Z, Father Knows Best, is still on. I think in the morning on Antenna TV. Anybody know for sure? I'm certain it is, but I'm not 100%. A lot of people welcoming Mr. and Mrs. Knack. Very, very kind of you. Big Guys 45. He's also asking for you to sub to him. Daily Dan left links to Big Guys 45's channel, and feel free to sub to him as well. Form is Content says we are old enough to remember when stand-up comedy albums were a big thing. We certainly do. Don't we? Yes, there's Daily Dan now. It says greetings, Alabama. Oh, Jimmy Neutron. I had to change device, but I'm back. Jimmy, thanks for joining us, by the way. So far, we're just talking about classic Christmas stuff. Favorite Christmas song, Christmas TV episode, Christmas film, Christmas memory, whatever. We seem to be sticking to Christmas. I'm also doing micro reviews of old schlocky sci-fi horror movies. I posted a list, but I'll take suggestions on anything. Let's see what else we got going on here. Gary Carpenter says Eleanor Donahue. Yes. Zublik says The Odd Couple also had Joan Hotkisk, who was a total MILF. Naughty, no biscotti. Jimmy Neutron says Dice Man Cometh was the first comedy tape I ever got. Was in VHS. Very funny stuff. I remember it. He was big when I was in school. Dilly Den's giving us links. Thank you very much. Gary Garber says Phyllis Diller and Red Fox had comedy albums. They sure did. Jimmy Neutron says, "It's me, it's John Doe." You're John Doe. Well, you can subscribe again, Jimmy. I don't care. So from now on, everybody call Jimmy Joe. Jimmy Joe. so, sounds like a southern name. This is Jimmy Joe Briggs. Anyway, Jimmy, welcome back. Here I am fawning over you like you're a new subber. Well, John, I'll always fawn over you. And all my offers still stand, by the way. Former's Content says, have we talked about the House Without a Christmas Tree, a TV movie? I rewatched that a few years ago, and it was still excellent. There's a bell ringing in the back of my head, and I can't think of it, but I'm like, there it is. It's like ding, 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 ding. Let's just see. Nax, says hello to Nax says hello to Daily Dan. Tom says Neutron John. Neutron John. Ooh, Neutron John. That's what we should call you. Neutron John. My wife made me toss out the Dice Man VHS. I'm sorry. Mike Silva says He-Man She-Ra Holiday Special. Now, how could that even work? Zublik says, I wonder whatever happened to the Unapologetic Geek. It looks like public domain theater is kaput permanently. No. Really? I didn't know about that. He told me tonight on Facebook that he didn't think he could make it tonight. But I didn't know they'd shut down his public domain theater altogether. Man, that sucks. Where did you hear that, Superplex, if you don't mind asking? I thought it was just a temporary hiccup and you could try again in a couple of weeks with something else. Neutron John says VHS is short for junior high school. Oh, I thought you just hit J instead of V. There was a typo. I kept saying VHS. Now I'm with you. Gary Carpenter says, Mike, a Snow White Christmas from the same people who made the Masters of the Universe. Tom Lemmy says Star Trek episode was Metamorphosis with Glenn Colbert. Also, it was with Glenn Colbert. Thank you. And I'm sure I mispronounced his name. Corbett. John Collins says, Bob, do you think if Don Rickles were alive today, he would tell the PC police to go straight to Hexville? And does his act anyway? Oh, I'm sorry. And do his act anyway, or do you think he would shut down against his protestations? Knowing what I know about Don Rickles, he would continue to do his act. He might, of course, he never really did blue language. It was more just insult stuff. So, but I don't think he would stop doing his act. Zubik says that's what he implied in the last chat we had. I didn't catch it. I'm sure you're right. As we've discussed, I sometimes miss comments because I'm so busy reading comments. Gary Kramer says Shrek the Halls. Mike Silva says, Gary, the Laugh-In TV series. I love the Laugh-In TV series. When I was a little kid, my folks used to let me stay up to watch it. Pardon me, watch it. And they had a little boy who said good night to the whoever the two guys were, and I would say good night back to him, and then I would go to bed. Tom says Rickles would be PC or he's out of a job. But again, he insulted people, but he was never really filthy about it. To be honest, Red Fox was way more racy for the time. Farmer's Content says there are so many reaction videos on Don Rickles. Tom Memory says, how about Dr. Dirty John Valby? Anyone remember him? I don't. Mike Silva says Star Trek, The Next Generation classic Relics with James Doohan. Met him once at a convention in Hyannis in 93, 94 when I'm down at the bridge. That big cardboard Enterprise that I have is signed by him. That's where I got that. Tom says all the regulars are here. Welcome new people. Well, the Knack's new, and Farmer's Content is fairly new, but he has been with us before. But yes, to all you new people, welcome back, and don't forget to like and subscribe at the risk of being a broken record. Farmer's Content says the house without a Christmas tree. Jason Robots is raising a kid along after his wife died during Christmas. The kid wants a regular Christmas, but he hates it as a bad memory. It's a good show. Yes, I have seen that many years ago, but I have seen it. Emily Miller says, odd not to see Lance tonight. Lance wasn't feeling well. He was here for about a half hour or so, but had to duck out. Um, we all wished him well, and he thanked us all for that. But yeah, he's not feeling well tonight. Gary Carpenter says Red Fox was before any time. Him and Lawanda Page. Tom Lermy says Emily, he was on but left early. Yes, thank you. In regards to Lance. But yeah, he's just not feeling well, so he should be fine. Zipperblick says contemporary stand-up comedians exploit their audience's most primordial instincts. I couldn't agree with you more there. Tom says I'm wearing my retro shirt too. Oh yes, I am wearing my retro shirt. It's my lucky shirt for live posts. I don't always wear it, but I am tonight. Gary Carpenter says, "Form. Remember a Christmas without snow?" Michael Leonard learned. No, I don't. I'm sorry. Neutron John says the first Transformers movie killed the series back in the '80s. You didn't like the one back? Was it '86 with Ernest Borgnine and bunch of people were in that. Leonard Nimoy was in it too. I kind of liked the feature film, but that was like sort of the last wave of me with animation until I rediscovered it years later. Lost my place here. Just getting back into it. A lot of people agree with Jimmy. Apparently, that's cool. It's a free country at the moment. Form is content, Gary. I do have a vague memory of that, and we'll look it up. Christmas without snow. That is. Gary Carmen says, Lance, if you're watching, get well soon. That's a good point. He might not be in the live chat, but he might be like still watching it. So yes, we're still thinking about you, Lance. Get better soon. Suplik says they aim for the lowest common denominator. T-Pons comedians, they certainly do. Keithy, Dan Rowan, and Dick Martin. So yeah, Rowan and Martin's laughing. So yeah, he said either Dan or Dick or whichever of the ones. But and then I would say goodnight to the kid, and then I would go to bed. I was like 4 or 5 at the time. It was like a ritual when that show was on. Oh, Michael Leonard of the Waltons. Thank you. Wasn't he? I didn't watch the Waltons a lot as a kid. I watched it sometimes. I didn't watch it a lot. It was on against something else I watched. Tom says couldn't stand Rowan and Martin. The Smothers Brothers too. I like the Smothers Brothers. Emily says Mike Picard is really good, kind of heartbreaking too. Haven't seen it, but I'm glad to know it's good. Teb says I still love Simpsons Roasting on Open Fire, which was served as the first official episode of The Simpsons. It was. Prior to that, it had been on the Tracy Ullman show as really just a bumper for their commercial breaks. And I think they made like 15 of them. And they wanted to use Matt Groening had done the whole series, Life in Hell with the rabbits. And they wanted to use the rabbits, but apparently there was some copyright issues. Calendar or something. Some company had the rights to them, but he had been doodling with this kid, Bart, who was actually himself as a kid. And he pitched that to him, and they said, sure. Matt Groening was a real hot property at the time with like the college age kids and whatnot, because he was cutting edge and dark. But yeah, the first full-length episode was the Christmas episode in 89, I want to say. Dilly Dan says, I'm old. I remember buying George Carlin and Red Fox, Richard Pryor comedy albums. My favorite was Cheech and Chong's Up in Smoke. Came with that giant paper. I might have to change mine. I think Richard Pryor might have to go on to my top three. He might, but it's a photo finish. But I mean, Richard Pryor was amazing. Emily Miller prefers the Smothers Brothers over the Road and Martin. Mike Silva says, Emily, waiting for season 3. My family member is watching it now. Let's just see. I just jumped again. Oh, here we are. Gary Cameron says the Simpsons are getting way too old. It's not doesn't quite have the same cutting edge as it did even 10 years ago. Mike Silva says Doctor Who first episode from 1963. Most of those are gone. They erased the tapes years ago. It's very sad. Tom Murray says Disney used to have good shows like the Computer Wore Tennis Shoes, the Shaggy Day, and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I didn't know Chitty Chitty Bang Bang was Disney. Tracy Lamar says I loved Life in Hell. Tom says never seen an episode of The Simpsons. Wow, ever, huh? Mike Silva says Tom, Pinocchio, Snow White, and the Seven Dwarves. Anyone here remember Pinocchio in Outer Space? For years, I thought it was a fever dream. I stayed home sick from school and it was on, and no one else had ever heard of it, so I thought I just dreamt it. Gary Cameron says, Mike, I've got a Doctor Who movie with Peter Cushing. He made 2. And they're not considered canon. He's a mad scientist from Earth as opposed to a Gallifreyan. Jimmy Neutron says they killed off most of the characters we liked in the first 20 minutes, and they killed Optimus Prime. Okay, yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. I forgot. I haven't seen it in over 30 years, but I can certainly see how that would take a downturn. Crazy Meyer says Simpsons jumped the shark long time ago. I can certainly see that. Tom Hungertrick says $1 Million Duck. My father took me to see that in the theaters. Mike Silva says, like the ending of the Piranha movie from 1978. I love the Piranha movie. That was John Sayles, wasn't it? Terrell Eugene Bellinger says, Some Enchanted Evening was originally going to be the premiere episode of The Simpsons, but because of the problems with the animation, it was pushed back and ended up airing as the season 1 finale. I never knew that. In fact, I didn't think the show was actually picked up until after the Christmas episode. So yeah, Teb, thank you. That's a great fun fact. Tom Laramie says Bedknobs and Broomsticks. My old roommate loved that episode. That was his favorite Disney film of all time, I think. Gary Carpenter says, how about the cat from outer space? Harry Morgan was in that, wasn't he? Azuplik says, did Pinocchio use line to get out of Jam's T-Pawns? Yeah, he did. He did. There was something about lying in it. The cool thing is, instead of a cricket, he teams up with a space turtle called a Yertle, and they fight a space whale. And I'm not making this up. They fight a space whale, and they end up on Venus. They found out the Venusians were planning on invading Earth, but things went awry, and they have to fight some giant sand crabs. But now you see why I thought it was a fever dream. Emily says, I've seen that one. Gary loved it. Let's just see what else we can go on here. Mr. Lynn says, pretty sure my friends and I cut that paper down to size and used it. Oh, has anyone been able to dig up the Gmail email address? Because we were talking about that in the not too distant past. Before. Um, anyway, if someone could please do, or at least pass it on to those of us who are having trouble getting it off my YouTube site. Don't know why. Neutron John says Bed Knobs and Broomsticks goes together with Chitty Chitty Bang Bang as a double feature. Love it. Emily says, wasn't that Ken Berry? In which one? Ken Berry he did do a number of Disney films, but I'm not sure which one we are in reference. Gary Carpenter says Gus the football kicking mule. I remember that one. Trace Rothmeyer says, wasn't there a TV show with two chimps who are supposedly in outer space? I can't think of the name of the show. It's not clicking. Ozerblick says, did Pinocchio use his nose as a sword? No, he did not. Ironically, though, I did see the 1940 Ozerblick. Mike Silva mentions the 1940 Pinocchio. I did see that one as re-released. I want to say in 1971. My parents took me to see it. It was the first movie I saw in a theater, and I dropped my popcorn because I was a Butterfingers, literally, not figuratively. Keith is maybe I missed it earlier, but is this on your new computer? No, I got the new computer. I haven't had a chance to actually master it yet. I'm going to be able to take some time during the school vacation week next week, and hopefully I'll have it. If not before the new year, in the very beginning of the next year, but hopefully soon. Gary Carpenter says, Private Eyes, Don Knotts and Tim Conway. Great stuff. Dilly Den says, I saw X movie once called Pinocchio's Big Yavrum. Okay, I know where that's going. Naughty, no biscotti. Tom Lemery says, what is Santa's favorite singer? Elf is Presley, but I'm bumped. Emily Miller says, Dan, pretty sure that's not Disney. Emily, I'm sure you are right. Mike Silva says, Tom, I saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus song. Zublik says, the only chimp TV show I remember was called Lancelot Link Teenage Chimp. It's actually Lancelot Link Secret Chimp. My father and I used to watch that on Saturday mornings. My father worked very, very long hours when I was a kid, but was always home on Saturday mornings. Oftentimes hungover, but always home on Saturday mornings, and that was our ritual. We would watch Saturday morning cartoons together. And hopefully, if there was a good schlocky horror movie on Creature Feature in the early afternoon, then it was Creature Feature, and that was our Saturday. It was a lot of fun. One time, my mother made this double batch of chocolate chip peanut butter cookies, which were her specialty. And she went into because we lived in the suburb of New York, she went into the city to do some shopping. And my father and I ate the entire double batch of cookies. By the time my mom got home, we were sick as dogs. Good times. Dilly Den says BJ and the bear had a chimp. Yes, bear was a chimp, or the chimp was a bear, or you know where this is going. Tom Lemery says, what kind of motorcycle does Santa ride? The Harley Davidson. Mike Silva says, it's cookie time. I can use a cookie. I don't feel like going to the kitchen right now. Zublik says, yeah, Lancelot was a spy. Actually, he was a counterintelligence spy. Well, actually, he did spy himself, but he was trying to break up a spy ring. Mata Harry, get it? Mata Harry. There were some other pretty good ones, too. Not very politically correct, though. Tab says, which TV show premiered in 1973? I love these questions. Tab. 1973, do you really love the most? Kojak, the $10,000 Pyramid, Match Game, The Young and the Restless, Barnaby Jones, Super Friends, or Star Trek, the animated series? At the time, because bear in mind, I was like 6 at this time, Star Trek, the animated series was my favorite. I went on to love Match Game. I still watch that in reruns on the Game Show Network. Love Kojak. $10,000 Pyramid is another one of my favorite game shows, particularly when it was hosted by Dick Clark. Never liked The Young and the Restless. I'm sorry. Barnaby Jones is good, but I was never really a super fan. But Super Friends, when we first moved to Cape Cod, I got one channel for Saturday mornings, and Super Friends was on it, and I used to love the Super Friends. So yeah, that was probably second to Star Trek. Neutron John says, Thrash, I would like a new series of killers from space for your take on it. I said series, I meant review. You know, Killers from Space, the original with John Birch, I want to say, was actually one of the movies I remember watching with my father. That scene where the big like eyes superimpose on everything when the women are trying to escape. That like freaked me out when I was a kid. I'll rewatch Killers from Space. Love it. Uh, they did a remake around the turn of the century. The last one, not the for the 21st, not the 20th, which was okay. It wasn't phenomenal, but it was okay. Daily Dan says we had Creature Feature in the winter and Shock Theater in the summer. Oh, that's cool. You had two different ones. Tracy Lamar says Rutro eating a lot of those cookies, Scooby snacks. Emma says Terrell. That's a really tough one. Mike Silva says Terrell, Match Game, Super Friends. No wrong answers. This book says, boy, do you remember a largely forgettable show, T-Pawns? I remember a lot of really, generally forgettable shows. That's why I do this show. Jimmy Neutron says yogurt or no yogurt. No, yogurt. Definitely yogurt. Gary Carpenter says Space Ghost and the Herculoids. Loved both of those things. Emily says, I grew up watching CBS soaps. Never a big soaps fan. So the book says Star Trek the Animated Series. Great. Just a great, great show. Oh, Dilly Dan is down to 3%. He's going to change phones. We'll be here. Keith E says, John, I took my last antibiotic today with some yogurt. I knew you'd be proud. That's awesome. The culture will make up for the bacteria your tummy loses. Trinity Meyer says, I did too, Emily, but now I watch General Hospital. Yeah, didn't they cancel a bunch of them? Tom, the Hungry Jerk says, no Barnaby Jones or Banachek. Good question. Gary Garber says Johnny Quest and Shazam. Definitely great shows. Tom Lemery says, I can't believe it took this long to mention yogurt. I can't believe that's not yogurt. Mr. Lynn says, Thrash, I posted your Gmail, but you skipped over it. You're kidding. You're absolutely kidding. Well, you know what? I am going to. I'm sorry. I was so far behind, I had to try to catch up. And sometimes when I get way behind, it jumps. But here, I'm going to scan and scan. You did? How long ago did you post it? I'm back to. You're talking about Cheech and Chong. Huh. Crazy. Well, I'm going back. And here you're saying Happy Hanukkah to Tracy. Okay, I'm literally at the top of the page. Yeah. Oh, then you mentioned Rodney Dangerfield. Are you sure it posted? That's crazy. Anyway. Let's just make sure you didn't. Oh, you skipped over it. Okay, so I'm back to where you said skipped over it. So if anyone wants to post it again, we'll try this again. Emily Miller says, Tracy, I haven't watched. I'll come in again. Tracy, I have watched a soap in well over 15 years. Yeah, I believe that was I haven't, is what you meant to say. Oh, Mike Silva liked all the classic Gary Banana Splits show too. Oh, actually, that's weird. I just something just it looked like no, that's not it. I thought I got a blurb from you off camera, Mr. Led. So I thought maybe it just didn't send to this and sent somewhere else. But well, it's just very strange. Gary Carpenter says Arabian Nights and the Three Musketeers. I love both of them on the Banana Splits, of course. Teb says, which TV show premiered in 1974 do you really love the most? Happy Days, Good Times, Rhoda, Chico and the Man, Little House on the Prairie, Land of the Lost, Policewoman, The Rockford Files. I'm going to have to go with Land of the Lost first. It had dinosaurs. But I loved Happy Days, loved Good Times, loved Rhoda, loved Chico and the Man, loved Little House on the Prairie. Supposedly I had a crush on Melissa Gilbert when I was like 5. Loved Police. Well, actually, my grandmother loved Policewoman, so I'd watch it with her. And my grandfather loved the Rockford Files, so I'd watch that with him. So I certainly watched those shows too. And Neutron John says they made those bug out eyes by cutting ping pong balls in half and drilled holes to see out. You're talking about a Corman film, I'm certain of it. Oh, of course. Killers from Outer Space. Yes, of course. Tom says Gary, size of an elephant. Yes, indeed. Someone just mentioned Danger Island, but I jumped. No, I'm back to where I was before. Here it is. Oh, freeze. Gary Carpenter says Danger Island. Oh, Chongo. Tom Lemery says Benechek was good too with George Papard. I forgot he was Benechek. Mike Silvis, I was thinking Kolchak. I think Mike Silva says Pawns, the final episode of the classic 60s series Batman. I don't recall which the final episode was, but anyway. Emily Miller says Terrell, Happy Days, Good Times, Land of the Lost. All great choices there. Zublik says Happy Days and Policewoman, Angie Dickinson. Zoop. Be nice with Angie Dickinson. Mike Silva says Emily, huge Sid and Marty Krofft fan. Clearly. Keith, he says, I thought Benechek was the best of those Sunday night mysteries. Okay. John Papard was in Tobruk, which is one of my favorite World War II movies. He did another World War II movie, and I can't think of what it was, and it's driving me bonkers. Does anybody remember what World War II movie, besides Tobruk, George Papard starred in? I think I jumped again. Oh, I see. It showed up on my end. It wasn't far back. Well, I'll look again. uh, yeah. Maybe it blinked it out for some reason. Sometimes YouTube does that when they think you're like putting personal information out there. Sometimes YouTube does that. Sorry, I don't know, Mr. Led. Thank you for trying. I really appreciate you trying. But looks like we're back to square one. Don't worry. Somehow we will get you the information. I promise you. I promise you. Skipping down. John Collins says, Bob, if you could appear on any 80s sitcom and drama, what would be the show and what would be the character names be? Favorite shows of the time period would have to be Hill Street Blues and St. Elsewhere. What my characters would be on either one of those shows, I don't know at this time. I'd think I'd be a tough cop. So I'd have a tough cop name. Like, I don't know. Casey O'Malley. No, that's more of a comic book hero. You come up with one. Somebody like think about what my tough cop name would be. And I'd break all the rules and still end up being the good guy. One of those 80s anti-heroes. Oh, Tracy said goodbye. Oh, here it is. Tracy Meyer says, time for bed. Have a nice night, everyone. And thank you for the Hanukkah wishes. You're very, very welcome. Actually, we're getting towards the hour and a half mark. So I'm thinking we go for about another 15 minutes and then call ski. But I'll try to pick up with as many as I've got there. Terrell Eugene Bellinger says, which TV show premiered in 1972 do you really love the most? MASH, Bob Newhart Show, Maude, Walton's, Price is Right, Sanford and Son, Kung Fu, the new Scooby-Doo movies. MASH, Kung Fu, Sanford and Son, Price is Right, Newhart Show, Maude, the Waltons, and Scooby-Doo movies. I think that covers it in just about the right order. I might change a thing here and there, but that's pretty close. A lot of people like MASH. Yeah, you gotta love MASH. Oh, Mike Silver says Croft Super Show. I love the Croft Super Show. Oh, John H just showed up. Oh, John H. Hello, Thrash and all. Yeah, so glad you could make it. Sadly, we're getting ready to wrap things up, but very glad you were able to join us. Keith E says, Emily, my invisible hippopotamus Hooper, have a serious. Oh yeah, I just another like a blurb there. It's almost like it's showing me a message, but they're not publishing it. Sorry. Anyway, Keith E goes on to say, have a serious talk with Santa, and I think you're good to go this year. Emily says, tell Hopper his check is in the mail. And again, hi, John H. John H says, I find Rhoda's sister, Brenda, very appealing as a character. She was the mom, it still is the mom, in The Simpsons, does the voice. Miss Willard says, funny, but the last chat you asked me to post it, and I did, and once again, you didn't mention it, so it must be a YouTube thing. I'm starting to think so. Maybe they don't post personal information in a comment section, even when it's okay with the person posting it. Mr. Lid, thank you for trying. To all the people who can't seem to get it off my about page. Again, I tried it myself the other day. You go to that the YouTube page, and then it has all the various things you could check, and the last one is about. You click on about, and you should be able to get my email address for business contacts. But if you can't, don't worry. We'll figure something out. I promise. We'll figure something out. Keith E says, was not Rhoda's sister the voice of Marge on The Simpsons? Yeah, I just got there. Let's just see. Oh, I think I missed one. Oh, Terrell's. Teb, which TV show premiered in 1980 do you really love the most? Bosom Buddies, It's a Living, Magnum P.I., Too Close for Comfort, 321 Contact, Thunder the Barbarian, Fridays, or Solid Gold. Lot to work with there. I think I had a crush on at least one person on each of those shows. Thundar the Barbarian, hands down the favorite. In fact, someday I'll actually do my post. Well, if Thundar had continued, there would have been no He-Man. They wouldn't have had to create the universe. They would have just taken Thundar's universe and added extra characters to it. Look at He-Man and Thundar together and see if that holds water. I have more to flesh that theory out, but anyway, Thunder the Barbarian, hands down the first. You know my obsession with post-apocalyptic. Love Bosom Buddies. It's a Living was pretty good. I absolutely loved Magnum PI. My wife does too. Huge Too Close for Comfort fan. I loved 321 Contact. Trini, by the way, is the girl who runs the candy store in The Warriors. Who's going to pay for all that stuff? For what? Yeah, that was Trini. I saw a few Fridays later. I didn't see it at the time. So that one didn't make a splash with me, but I did love me my Solid Gold the days before MTV. Oh, John H says, at least I got to join for a few minutes. Yes. and we're glad to have you for any number of minutes. I'm glad you got to make it. Sublik says, didn't care for any of them, Terrell. Well, la-dee-da. Tom Memory says, Will Smith was in that episode. He was in Clint Eastwood's Any Which Way But Loose. You're kidding. I never, ever knew that. Not Will Smith, William Smith. Yes. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. You're talking about William Smith, the character actor, who actually he was in Planet of the Apes as well. Yeah. Emily says to Terrell, Magnum, bosom buddies, too close for comfort, and 3-2-1 contact. Oh, Jenny Skin says only a mod can post a link. That just cleared everything right up. Super. Danny, would you mind trying to post that email address? The Gmail one, the one that I have on my about page. I really appreciate it. Not that I don't ask you to do enough, but if you could do me this one small solid, a couple people, fans want that address so they can get contact information to me. Thank you. Well, Mr. Led, that clarifies that. Sorry to have put you out these last couple of weeks. Johnny says William Smith replaced Jim MacArthur for the last season of Hawaii Five-0. I did not know that. Will Smith, Peter Brown, and Neville Brand were in the trio in Laredo. Oh my gosh, I haven't seen Laredo in going on 40 years. There was some station years ago when I was out in Western Mass used to show it. I love the show, but I haven't seen that in years. Ms. Lynn says, whatever happened to the solid gold dancers? They got old. Emily Miller says, Terrell, I miss the solid gold. Add that to my list. Gary Cameron says, Black Star. I preferred Thundar, but Black Star was pretty cool. Zublik says, William Smith usually played villains. He did. He was in a Yul Brynner post-apocalyptic movie where he played a villain. I can't remember his name, but I just jumped again. Oh, Fridays had Michael Richards on it. It certainly did. And that was the famous one that had guy from Man of the Moon. The guy from Taxi played Latka. He had the meltdown on the show. And the story goes, some people say that it was all staged. Some people say that it wasn't. Tom says, everybody watch Pat's Richard Correll video. It's great. It is. It's some of his best work. Definitely check out Pat's The Golden Rage, his video about his interview with Richard Correll. Teb says, I'm about to leave now. Hope you have a wonderful Christmas. Teb, thank you for joining us. Thank you for the great questions, by the way. I love those, by the way. You know, it's so funny because it's you give like the top 5 or 10 of the best shows of a certain year, and then I try to put them in order on the fly. It's fun. And very seldom you give me one that I didn't at least watch at some point. So again, Teb, Merry Christmas. Thanks again. We'll see you very, 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 very soon. Mr. Lynn says Fridays was good. Had Kramer from Seinfeld. Certainly did. A lot of people saying goodbye. Tom says solid on Solid Gold. I had the hots for Marilyn McCoo. You were in very good company. I'm actually caught up. Gary Cameron says Tom, Pat Carroll was on the Superheroes Roast. I did not know that. Keithy says, why don't you post the email as it is, but instead of the AT&T, put in the 3 dashes. Will that help? By the way, if any of you guys are on Facebook, you can join me on Facebook, and then I can send you a private message there. I don't like having, other than my email, which is for YouTube, I don't like it having private information online for reasons that are all too obvious. Zublik says William Smith died the same year Henry Silva died, 2022. I did not know that. Oh, actually, I think I remember that from when I was doing my research for Planet of the Apes, when I was doing Dave's show. Oh, Gary Cameron says, Tom, she played Hawkman's mom. I did not know that. Neutron John says, are you going to do a special New Year's Eve stream so that we can start the new year right? Not a bad idea. No, oh, wait a second. No, I have to work. I work on Saturdays. I might do a New Year's Day presentation. um, let's just see. Oh, the same actress was also in Little Mermaid. She played Ursula. Oh, I did not know that. Crazy. Marilyn McHugh is still beautiful. She sure is. Gary Carpenter, Madam was hilarious. I loved Madam. He passed on years ago. The comedian who was the artist. Tell Memory says yes. Couldn't remember her character. I had forgotten it was Ursula. To be honest with you. No, it is part shit. Oh, I was. I just had some grape Fanta. Sublik says closed on Sunday. T-Pawns. Yeah, the restaurant's closed on Sunday, but we're open Saturday night. And hang on a second. Yeah, 31st is Saturday night, so I'll be working New Year's Eve. So I will do a New Year's Day show of some kind if I'm not too hungover. Gary Carpenter says, please do a New Year's Day show. Azublik says, isn't Fanta German? Yes, it is. The story goes that when America first started boycotting selling products to Germany, the Germans had to come up with their own non-alcoholic beverage, and that was Fanta. Now, I've never seen Fanta Cola, or if I have, I don't remember it. But of course, all the flavors are still around. I thought it was taken over by what is it called? Not a multinational, but one of the whole pan European things. So it's not solely German now. It's now a, well, for want of a better word, a multinational, like General Foods. But I could be wrong. But yes, it's German. But so are BMWs. Zublik said, who would have imagined the French would sell us water? Why not? Sacre bleu. Why not sell us water? Someone has to. So yeah, it's looking like it's 9:30. Oh wow, a lot of people have bailed. We're down to 10. So Zublik says water is free. Salt water is free, but you can try drinking that. In any event, I want to thank you guys for joining us today. Today was kind of on the fly because I didn't know until this morning that Ian had to cancel his show. I didn't get the message until Lance told me. So anyway, I'm so glad so many of you were able to join tonight, and I want to thank you all as always. It's always a lot of fun, Mr. Led. Again, I'm sorry if I inconvenienced you. I didn't realize that only mods could make posts, but I appreciate you. Or links, post links. But anyway, I want to thank you all for joining, and I want to thank you all for your effort and input. And for those of you not feeling well, I hope you all feel better. And I am doing a show this coming Thursday, by the way. Not sure what the topic is yet, but it'll probably have something to do with vintage sci-fi cinema and the upcoming holiday. But until then, be good, be safe, be careful. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all again very, 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 very soon. Peace.